My brother claims he's competing for speakership under an agreement. Now, we have got what we call the ejus dem generis rule in law. The agreement appointed him as minister for the current term of office. And that was an express appointment, including his name. There is no other express appointment written anywhere under the sun here in Uganda. And the speakership is not actually part of the ejus dem generis. It is not within the same class. You cannot talk of cabinet minister and talk of speaker at the same time, because we are under the doctrine of separation of powers in Uganda. So clearly, whoever expressly provided for cabinet minister expressly excluded the speakership, even under the law. I would shudder if anybody nominated him on account of an agreement. It will still be personal. It should be the moving swan song on the lips of every Ugandan that we should do clean politics. The Democratic Party is having a problem. We have an agreement that for all intents and purposes clearly describes a cooperation between us and the NRM. That agreement is extremely specific on the rights and obligations available to either party. That agreement has got specific appointments, including the appointment of my brother, Honorable Norbert as minister. Giving it a purposive interpretation, the agreement expires on the 11th. Tomorrow, actually. The election of the speaker is certainly a matter of the next term of office that has not been captured by any agreement so far. So clearly, we will not have any other relationship with the NRM after tomorrow, except if there is a review. And anybody continuing to possess relationships with the NRM will be doing so on an individual basis, unless and until a review process is established. So, for example, I was invited to the swearing in, and I am doing it because my candidate won. That is going to be the relationship available, completely individual and not based on any agreement. It is still puzzling me. Each time I hear my brother competing to be Speaker of Parliament, and that his major aim is to fight corruption, he begins to sound like he's actually vying to become the IGG of Uganda. Because the Inspectorate of Government is the peremptory organ specifically established to fight corruption. Corruption in Uganda is an offense. And clearly, nobody can carry the description of a corrupt, except if that person has received a decision of court that that person has engaged in corruption tendencies. I find it unfair that somebody runs. For me, I would never mind if anybody else was doing it on behalf of my brother. But where he comes out to himself alleged, knowing that corruption is an offense in Uganda, and that the Right Honorable Anita is not under any investigations, is not under or serving a sentence, either by way of imprisonment or even a fine on account of corruption, I find it rather disturbing. And of course attacking the decorum of Parliament. At the end of the day, we still need our Parliament to obtain and move with the decorum that is apparent. That anybody would wish to refer to another leader as corrupt without any iota of proof, investigation, substantial suspicion, or even a decision of court that presumes that such a person is actually indeed corrupt. For me, I think that is not good and clean politics. The best politics would be that you raise material discussions that are geared towards what you contemplate to do in Parliament, where you, in the unlikely event that you were elected Speaker. And extremely preposterous that my brother would be in position to pursue such. an avenue. And this is what, for me, convinces me that he's either a completely different person, or the desire to become Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda has bestowed unto him a position that, in my opinion, we can regard as punch drunk, to the extent that you can now avoid and you begin adopting figments of fertile imaginations on issues are still ongoing. Now, I think the population needs to know this, that these were not, that the sanctions were established against the Right Honorable Anita Among without even a hearing. Now, the laws of Uganda are to the effect that you cannot be condemned unheard. And that is the legal principle of audi alteram partem, that parties have got to be heard if a decision is going to be taken that injures their own freedoms by any means. I am sure the Honorable Norbert is aware that that is the procedure. So there are procedures under the law. For example, sanctions in UK, you can write to the Foreign Secretary for purposes of requesting that the same be revoked. Or you can take judicial review of the same within the courts of the UK for purposes of having the same revoked. In the United States, you can do a formal petition for purposes that the same can equally be revoked. These are normal and peremptory procedures that have to be followed by any government whose officials can get first with the same. Number two, there is no correlation or nexus between sanctions by the United States or UK and the performance of the role of a Speaker of Parliament. Because when you look at the month of April 2024 to date, Parliament has passed over 138 bills. So clearly there is no problem with the speakership, even when one is under sanctions. 138 bills, the president has assented to close to 50 of them, and others are still, of course, within the precincts and the purview of readdress. So clearly there is no correlation or nexus between sanctions and one performing the roles of a speaker. And this is, I find it my duty as an advocate of courts of judicature and a proponent of the Right Honorable Anita Among to remain Speaker of Parliament to make sure we clear this out of the way. My brother has just passed a law, and that law is dubbed the Protection of Sovereignty Act for Uganda. Does he find it an act of sovereignty that one should vend foreign sanctions as a tool of determination of who must lead a local institution in Uganda? Does he find it rather not discombobulated? Does he really find it part of the purview of his cerebral consensus that sanctions of the United States or UK should be used to determine who should lead Uganda within the purview of the objects, intents, and the purposes of the sovereignty bill that he has so far passed and defended properly? I find that rather lackadaisical. And I have been advising, and that is why the Democratic Party is not seeing him. He's moving everywhere except at the party. We have not sat even to look at that kind of competition in order, because our member of parliament, Fularo Peche, who even appears to be our president, is talking of speakership, and we don't know what he's talking about. So, in my opinion, I think let him come back. Let us discuss. There is an urgency that with which we need to handle For example, the relationship that existed between us and NRM that collapses tomorrow of course, by a fraction of time. And that has to be addressed before anybody continues to do anything. Otherwise, we are going to be seeing him reappointed as a minister without an agreement. And that will now mean a lot for purposes going forward in the Democratic Party. It will be something different. Let my president refocus on the objects of the protection of sovereignty bill that was passed into an act, not yet assented to. It's not a law. If actually it were assented to, by the time of the comments that he made, he would have been liable to trial and subsequent imprisonment for violation of that act. So if the president signs it and he posts anything to do with the foreign sanctions again, I am afraid my brother will now begin to enjoy trial, and we shall be his lawyers once appointed in order to make sure that we procure his release. So I think let us do clean politics, let the speakership race be conducted at Parliament, and let all and intents and purposes between the individuals campaigning refer to the objective reasons that make it a logical necessity for them to run for the posterity and illumination of the legislature for Uganda, other than engaging in a social media ludic ballyhoo that definitely now tends to ruin otherwise the image of Uganda.